In this video, we are going to turn this image into a rainy image. But before doing this, let's study together a little bit about rain. So what happens when we have rain in a scene? Now, the most usual, fact that we can think about is, just to see the rain in the sky. But if you look at different pictures, different photos, you will see that probably because of the shutter speed, there's no such, long exposure that allow you to actually see the rain falling down, okay? So probably if you have a very dark scene and the shutter speed is fast, then you can get some rain, shape. Otherwise, it will probably become something like fog, okay? So it's easier, from what I see, first of all, it's easier to see rain when you have light, okay? If it's really dark, is almost invisible, I would say. Is almost basically part of the background. So first of all, I would say let's try to paint a more visible rain where we have a light. Second thing, is not really the rain itself that is visible, but it's way more visible, the effect of the rain on the floor. I mean, you see this drops, this explosions of water when rain, gets to the ground. And there is also, of course, there's a lot of reflection. The reflection is broken, okay? There is a lot of anisotropy. Anisotropy means that the original shape of the light source is deformed vertically because of the point of view, because of the details on the ground. And then we have a lot of kind of haze, a lot of fog, like low fog, because all this water in the air becomes fog anyway. And these stuff is, the water on the floor, when we create this kind of, drops, that explosion of, this thing here, it becomes brighter than the floor itself, okay? So here we have like some, asphalt. You can tell it's dark, but then you have the reflection, it becomes brighter, and then you have the water, and it becomes brighter, and then you have the light, and then brighter and brighter and brighter. So it's for sure rain is one of those effects that increase the brightness, I would say. Okay, but then you have different type of rain. I mean, you can have very very intense rain, and so you get the drops on the floor. And this kind of, foggy thing you see is basically the image contrast is not that, is of course less strong than the contrast we have close to us, okay? So it's very easy to have fog and very fast to have, it happens very quickly. It happens very quickly on distance, I would say. Probably these examples are not the best. I just searched for some raining straight. I like when the rain is on the floor, but so we have water on the floor, but there is no basically homogeneity. It's not everywhere, but it's only somewhere. Really realistic. It's really cool, and of course you can tell because there is more reflection. And the reflection is not perfect at all. Probably is like far away because of the angle, the view angle. But once you get close to you, then you have different areas. You can have a splotch where the water is a little bit like, more flat, and then you have kind of more messy small waves, and then it's like working with the roughness. In the end, it is the roughness because we are talking about the surface. You see, and by the way, the rain in the sky. You can see that there are basically lines, basic white lines, and they are almost every one of them is out of focus, and Some of them are more like blurred than others. Some of them are kind of, smaller than others. But I believe that that means that's about the perspective and distance between us and the rain itself. Okay, so if we have a texture like this, for example, or like this, or something like this, I mean, we should be careful, because we cannot just put one of these textures on top of the image and that's it. First of all, we need to mask it, in some areas, okay, where we want to see this more, and also we need many layers of it, okay, not just one big layer, just one, layer alone, but we need to, I don't know, start with one layer and then, copy it, make it smaller, bring it back, put it forward in the scene, and then so on and so on. So the rain far away will be smaller than the rain close to us, and this is an idea. And because it's rainy, you see a lot of water on the street, a lot of anisotropy, so longer reflections, and we can have pretty strong reflection actually. Let me search for images with every size. You see, I remember I saw an example here somewhere. You see very long anisotropy, very long reflections, and actually, you can treat the street, if you have street, like mirror. As you can see, it's like a mirror. You can tell what is happening on the other side. You see, there's some building. They are just, blurred with a kind of bump of the asphalt, and the color of the sky is pretty close to what we have on the top, also. Okay. Then, I mean, this is cool. This is a great example. You see, the rain is very visible only where we have light. So we should paint the light, paint a little bit of glow, a little bit of bloom, if you need some glare, and then, this glow underneath the lamp, and then the rain just there. Maybe we can have a little bit of rain even here, but most of it's happening there. And this is a good reference. This is a good example. Please don't go for renders. Okay, pick only photos as references. Okay, this is a good reference. I mean, I believe that the length of the rain itself could change depending on the shutter speed of the camera, okay, and also probably the speed of rain. Maybe rain is not falling down the same way everywhere. Maybe, I don't know, it depends on the strength of, the wind, probably. I don't know. There's like a turbulence, so maybe not the whole rain thing is falling down with the same, intensity everywhere. Of course, having some, picking the right people for the render is also a good idea, because if you have someone with an umbrella and, it's like this, it makes sense, and, your brain will do the math, will do the two plus two and say, okay, it's probably raining because there's someone with an umbrella. Okay, you see in this image here, you can see it's very small, very, intense, but small. And you know what? If you look at the contrast here and, this black area, okay, and this black area, because probably even this area is black, you can tell from here that this is way brighter than this, which means that in front of, in between these women and then this thing here, there's not just rain itself, but there's something like fog. There's something like, a very bright, transparent layer we can have. Another thing we can do is to, paint droplets of, drops of water on the glasses. And, to do that, we probably need a displacement map of, drops. I use one that comes from Bertrand Benoit that he made like years ago. And if you have displacement map, you can import in Photoshop. I will show you, and you can just, you know, turn it into something like this with overlay, blending mode. Anyway, I just want to show you that when you have drops of water on a glass, they act as lens. And as you can see, there is basically a black border, you know, in here, because, you know, probably there is something black, you know, around here, around the window. I don't know, probably the frame of this window. You know, probably we are on a bus. Okay, this is a photo taken from a bus. And then we have, you know, the opposite of the image on the top part of the raindrop, because it works like, you know, I don't know if you ever play with, you know, a spoon, you know, and you look at the spoon, you can see your image flipped vertically, and it works the same way. So if you want to simulate some, you know, realistic drops, you should do something like that. And that's it. So let's now go back on our image and see what we can do. Okay, let's see what we got in this file. We have the base render, we have a photo for the first background, and then we have a photo of a sky. And on top we have a single pass, which is the raw reflection pass. And as you can see, we don't have reflections for the glasses, which is a bummer, but okay, we are going to work anyway in some way. What to do now? First of all, I mean, this is my way of starting post-production of an image. I always keep on the top, I use saturation with saturation -100, because I want to check time to time the values of the scene, okay? Not the colors. I don't care about the color. I care about getting the right values, okay? If you get the right values, then the image would be correct, okay? And then, you know, fixing the color is never a problem, and it's also very quick to do, okay? So let's keep this use saturation on top just to make the image black and white. And now I start from the sky. Now the sky and the background, let's say, are not bad. I would say bad match, but I would say if this has to become a rainy image, we need more kind of drama. We need more, you know, fog. We need more darkness. We need, you know, more contrast probably. So I would say that the first thing to do here is to put a curve on this sky here, and we can try to make it a little bit darker, okay? Maybe here down there, and maybe a little bit more bluish, okay? So we'll take down a little bit of reds and a little bit of green. More red than green, otherwise becomes, you know, reddish. Okay, good. And I don't want these effects everywhere, okay? So I invert these effects and I paint with a very, you know, soft brush, maybe something like here, okay? Just to make this cloud a little bit more dramatic and, you know, menacing. Okay, I can always go back here, maybe keeping the brush a little bit, you know, with a little bit of lower intensity, okay? And then I can try here in the background the same thing. I can even try with a color lookup, maybe foggy night lookup. Yeah, like it. Maybe with a little bit less opacity. Yeah, cool. And sometimes I try even this in lighten mode, because it gets stronger when it's darker, but no, this is okay. Maybe we can just, you know, delete a little bit of these effects, maybe close to us. Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit, because I imagine we have a little bit of the light coming from the house on those trees, on those first trees. But then I put another curves attached, and then I just, you know, go a little bit higher with the dark. spot, dark value, and as you can see, it looks like we have more fog on top of it. And it match, I'm looking here, it matched a little bit better with the sky. So I'm going to keep it. And I do this, you see, I just, you know, go down with this, go up with this. If we go up with the black value, you know, it gets brighter. Everything gets brighter. If we go down with the white value, everything got darker. But in the end, we are taking away contrast, which is exactly what we're looking for, because we need to put some fog on top of the image. And so this is the way, okay? Remember when we said, okay, we have rain, but we have also some haze, some fog. This is one way of doing it, okay? Good. Now, I procedure like, you know, I go on going, you know, from one thing to the other, and the next thing would be the grass, because you see it touched the background. So I go into the channels and I'm searching for the right mask for the grass, which is this one. So I go on top of the render, I make an adjustment folder. And inside the adjustment folder, I create a subfolder, and mask it, and I call this one grass. And they should match. So I can go down with a curve. See, make it bright, make it darker, and probably also a little bit bluer. So I go down with the reds, I go down with the green. It's a matter of trial and error. Now it's too saturated, so I'm going for a saturation, and I'm going down. And as you can see, now this match a little bit better than before. I don't particularly like this kind of bright line, okay, but I believe it's part of the fact that it was very, very bright before, and the mask is probably not perfect, okay? So I can try to, you know, select the mask. As you can see, I control click on the mask itself. Now we can zoom in a little bit. Let me see. You see that line here? So I select the mask and I intersect the mask with the rectangle. So I only have this thing here, and then I select, you know, with the selection on, with the tool, like the square selection or the lasso, it doesn't matter. Just don't move this, just don't use this this selection. I click once with the arrow key, up arrow key, to move the selection up by 1 pixel, and I just shift F5, so I fill this mask with the white color. So as in this way, we are just basically moving up the mask by 1 pixel, you know, just because I want to try, but it's too dark. So is, you know, it's a no for me, okay? Anyway, I tried, and I don't know, maybe it's part of the image itself, maybe, you know, is the last part of grass which takes a little bit of reflection, I don't know. I still don't like it, but I mean, we can do something. If we take an image from the gallery we give you, you know, and I don't know, like something like this, and we bring this image at the back in between the render and the sky, see, and then we take this and we bring this into screen mode. Oh, this is too strong. This is like smoke, is not haze. So this is too strong, I would say. But we keep it here. I don't know, maybe we are going to use it, you know, maybe we are going to make it darker, and I don't know, maybe we are going to blur it. I don't know, let's see. We can keep it here, okay? Very good. Now, for sure, the area inside the building will be very bright. The area here and, you know, the curtains will stay very bright because we have the light behind them. Here we can improve the strength of the reflection, and you know, to feel more the fact that this part is wet. And then we need to work on the glasses to add those drops, those raindrops, and we need for sure some kind of, you know, smooth fog, like water, you know, the water splashing to the ground and breaking into millions of particles, and that's for sure. And that will create also a glow effect, okay, in front of the windows, probably in front of this strong light, and you know, the rain itself will be visible a little bit more where we have these bright areas, okay, than maybe this area. But anyway, what I try to do now is to, you know, let's say smoke, and I would try to make this area darker because I want to have a nice contrast, okay. So let's go into the channels and search for the wood facade, this one, very cool. And into the adjustment, I make a new folder, put a mask, just put a name, and make this darker. I mean, not too much, okay, I don't want to lose informations, but I want to, you know, have a nice difference between you know, the brightness of this area and this area. Another thing we can do is to use a color lookup. Let me see if we can get a little bit of blue on top of it, maybe with lighten, maybe with a little bit of opacity down. Yeah, I like it more. I like it more now. I restore a little bit of the blue coming from the sky. You know, the original sky in the 3D render was not blue at all, and you can tell because there's no blue anywhere. So we need to put some blue there by hand, okay? All right, so this is done. Same for the frames here, the metal frames, which are a little bit wet already because we kept the material like very reflective. Now, let me see if I can get them. Okay, this is it. So back in the channels, back in the layer, sorry, new group, put the mask. These are frames. And again, same stuff. I mean, to make it easier, we can just, you know, copy these two layers with the Alt button inside here. You see, and we get the effects. Some areas here are not into the mask. Let me see if we can find the right mask to add there. Nope, nope, nope. Let me see here. If we don't find the right mask, we can add those areas manually. We don't really care. I believe we don't have that. You know, these are kind of old maps. Okay. Let's do manually. And by the way, if you at one point you see something like this, don't be afraid. It's called a quick mask. It's because you forgot to hide a channel here, an alpha channel in the channels. Okay, so just click on the eye and that's it. So in order to add the proper, you know, mask, I just zoom in. And then I, you know, little by little with a white brush, you know, just paint. And maybe I use the pen this time so I'm, you know, more accurate on what I'm doing. So opacity up to 100%. Maybe I use this, which is the size on pressure. You know, if I want to be more accurate, I press less. It's a very cool feature. Okay, and you know, one way would be to paint over the handle and, you know, don't care about the result, because then we can search for the mask of the handles and delete that, you know, from here. Okay, that would be an idea. Or you can, you know, just make the brush smaller and, you know, do it manually. It's a little bit of an exercise, even this one, you know, just to make a little bit of practice with with your skills in painting, okay? And that's it. And I believe also here we have this area, which is, you know, I mean, this is actually, now that I can tell, now this is probably, I don't know, no, it looks like, it doesn't look like concrete, it looks like metal, so I probably got the wrong mask, you know, from the file, or maybe I forgot to load one mask. Anyway, we can solve this problem very easily, okay? As you can see, if I never zoom in unless I really need it, and it's because I don't want to lose the overall, you know, look of the image. I want to see, you know, everything in context, and I zoom in only when it's about details and I need to be very, very precise, okay? So this is it. I feel like this is too bluish, so I will go down a little bit with this, you know, color lookup in foggy night mode. Okay, cool. And now I can work a little bit on the pavements here on the outside, which would be very fun. So I make a new folder, call this one outside tiles. Sorry for the name, not really creative, I would say. And then I select the mask of the pavements with the control click on the thumbnail and add the selection as a mask to this group. And now I can finally use the row reflection pass, make a copy of it, Ctrl J, bring it inside the outside tiles folder, turn it on. And as you can see, I mean, this is how it looks like by default, okay? This is the you know, the actual pass, and I mean, this is pretty strong. It could work anyway, okay? So we can just make, you know, a mix in between the original, you know, result and the new, you know, the row reflection pass. I mean, I like it. That doesn't really bothers me. Maybe, of course, because we changed the color of the scene in a more bluish terms. I mean, we can just go and, again, you know, we can go with the color lookup, we can go with the color balance, I don't know, with a, you see, with a little bit of cyan, a little bit of blue, and maybe we don't want to lose the color here of the original, you know, light from the building, okay? But anyway, let's try to be very subtle with this. And another thing you can do to increase the contrast and at the same time control the saturation is the black and white. Okay, black and white adjustment. Now this was called infrared effect, and it's actually part of the finalization for your images. You can just put a black and white adjustments, and then you know, it's called infrared because there is an infrared preset, but that doesn't mean, you know, that you have to use that infrared preset. It's not mandatory, but you can take this black and white layer and put an overlay or soft light, and as you can see, you see this, the strength of the effect is way higher, and the contra, and basically what we get is something which is contrasted and then less saturated, which, you know, those two things are something that helps the realism, the photorealism, okay? The contrast and the desaturation. And I'm telling you because most of the time we are used to add too much saturation to our you know, scene. It's not that cool, it's not that great, okay? I can see now that there is here some patch of grass without grass actually. It really doesn't, it really bothers me, but we can fix it later maybe. Okay, good. So now that we have a very strong reflection, which is pretty cool, we should work also on this piece of concrete, which is probably too bright. So let me go back in the channels and let me search for that column. I would say if we don't find that column, we can, you know, don't care, we can make a selection and do it manually actually. Okay, this is the ceiling, this is the windows. So probably we don't have that column, right? This is the glasses. This is very helpful. This will be very helpful. So okay, we don't have that column, doesn't matter. We can just make a group, okay, and call this one concrete, right? And then I zoom in. You see, I zoom in only in this time, just because I want to make a nice selection here. So I'm pressing Alt to make straight lines. And then I click in here and I release to make a straight line up there, put a mask, put a curve inside, and bring it down to match the brightness. As you can see, I have such a small imperfection. I can just go here in the mask of that area and fix it with a very small brush, white, and with the shift. So I press once up there, then shift, and down here, and you can see where you can make a straight line and fix the mistake. Okay, so now it was visible. It was too visible. Okay, it was too visible, and you have to imagine that different shaders, different type of materials react in a different way because of water. Like concrete gets really dark because of water, so it makes sense to change the brightness of this outside piece of concrete and make it darker. Okay, cool. Now I will keep the glasses for last because it's the most difficult part. Okay. And now that I think, I can see that probably because of the rain, the amount of rain we're going to paint, we can get a good contrast here close to us. But even, here, we can paint a little bit of fog, even if it's really close to us. So I go back to the woods and I can start doing like an empty layer, screen mode. Or even normal. There's nothing wrong on painting in normal. Actually, sometimes it's the right thing to do. And so I'm picking this kind of bluish flat color. And then, of course, you need to go down with the opacity. You see, and I'm painting only inside the wood. So I'm not afraid of going outside, you see. Just a little bit, to have a little bit of gradient that goes from here to here. You see that immediately it works a lot better. But now that I think about this, I should paint also down there on the ceiling of the ground floor. And so I'm looking for that now. I'm looking for that shape. Let me see if I'm lucky enough to find it. Probably I don't have it because probably I forgot to, render a few masks. Think about this file is pretty old. Okay, but at the same time, you see I have this image here. I can just make a selection and subtract everything white if I want to make it perfect. Anyway, it looks like we don't have any sort of any sort of mask for that. So I will make a new group. I'll make a new layer inside, and on the group I will call it ceiling outside on the right. Just write the names like this so you can remember what you're changing, what you're working on. And then again I can just paint with the same bluish color like here. Okay. Of course, now what happens is I'm painting everywhere because I want now to go here, only here in this mask, and add this area as an working area. Okay. So you see now I have these effects only there, and probably it's too strong. So now I'm going down with the opacity. Okay. And maybe I can have a little bit of blue also. So color lookup, foggy night. See? Maybe a little bit down. with the opacity. Now it's a lot better, okay? You can tell was some blue was missing, indeed. So now it looks better, it looks better. Okay, now it's time to work on the glasses and on the interior, and we are going to keep rain for last because rain, it's on top of everything, okay? So what kind of effects we need here on the glasses? Well, first we need some reflection to understand there's actually some glasses, and then we can add sort of, you know, blur on the lower part because of some condense of the water, and then we can have some drops on top of the glasses. And we're going to see a few techniques to do such a thing, okay? So let's start with a new folder into the adjustment folder. Let's call this one glasses or windows, okay? I know that glasses is not the right word for it, but you know, it's habits, bad habits, I would say. I will go for the mask of the glasses and then add the group. And now we need a photo for this. And of course, we don't have any photo, you know, ready for it from the render itself, I would say, and we don't have any reflection for it. So I'm going to take the photo we have in the background and merge all the adjustment with it. So Ctrl-Alt-E and bring this on top here into the glasses. And then, okay, we can close the groups. And as you remember, because of glasses, we have a couple of things we're working on. First of all, we have the Fresnel effect. So the reflection should be more visible close to us than on the side, okay? Frontally than on the side. And even if it looks like we are, you know, on the same angle on this facade, is not true. We are more like frontal than here than here, okay? So it should be a little bit more visible here. So the first thing you can do is, you know, like a gradient. I say, okay, this one should be, you know, stronger here, okay? Actually the opposite, okay? So something like this, first of all, okay? So I'm doing this horizontal gradient, and I'm starting painting from here. So white is here. I mean, why I'm not doing white and black here? Because we are not at 90 degrees, you know, parallel to the glass. So, you know, it can't be 100% visible. The reflection can't be 100% strong. So I'm starting from here, okay? And I'm going to end down there, or maybe a little bit like this, okay? And this should be the Fresnel effects, I would say. And then we can have, for sure, we can have a little bit of, you know, alpha, you know, a little bit of opacity coming from the fact that inside the building we have a stronger light than outside, okay? So what to do? We can, you know, hide the glasses for a second, go back here on the top, turn on the use duration, okay? You can also get the invert, and we can just, you know, Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E to get a screenshot of this, because this is actually the mask for the interior, okay, for the glasses. And so I take the mask here, which is not a mask yet, go to the channels, make a new channel, paste, Ctrl-click on the thumbnail to load the selection, and now we can go back here, you know, turn on the reflection, group again, okay, and put these mask as this selection as a mask, okay. And we can also decide to, okay, it should be inside, okay, see. And now the reflection is only where the inside is darker, okay, which makes sense. Another thing, reflection is way more visible where the reflection is darker, so where itself is darker. So, I mean, we should see some of the floor here, yeah, probably. But, you know, because it's so dark, we can just make it, you know, darker. We can just, you know, I'll probably put a curve and, you know, lower the brightness here. Now I don't really care about this. We want to, you know, just get the effect. You see that we have some reflection. And normally what I do is I put a curve also here on top. And then I just try to get a little bit of contrast. Not too much. I mean, it's not sure that we're doing this, okay? But I'm trying. Okay, cool. Just a little bit darker. Okay. Okay, cool. And now what we want to do is we want to blur a little bit this lower part, you know, to simulate some condense. So what I'm doing is, again, hide the glasses, make another time, you know, screenshot of the image, Ctrl+Shift+E, and then I don't need anything else than the inside of the building. So I'm going to select this map here, this this mask here, and I'm going to click on this button. So I'm basically copying the mask of the glasses on this layer because I need to delete everything else. Every information of this layer, which is on the black area, has to be gone. So I apply the mask, and this is exactly what I need for, okay, what I was looking for, okay? Why we need this? The reason is, now what we're going to do is we're going to convert this into a smart object, and we are going to blur this. But if you blur the whole image, a little bit of the elements outside, you know, the building will basically go inside because you are blurring. So some of the inside goes outside and some of the outside go inside. And we don't need that. We don't want that. We want just to blur it's inside, okay? So I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to blur, you see, and this is the final effect. See, this is blurring, and it looks like you have something like frozen glass. So this effect also works for frozen glass, okay? But now I'm bringing back this into the glasses because this is, you know, where it belongs, okay? Like, I don't know, here, okay? Not inside, I mean here, but just inside the glasses folder, but outside this, I can just bring this inside the glasses, and then, I mean, it's not easy to bring something at the bottom of a group, so sometimes I find myself, you know, to just selecting what it goes under and just, you know, move it, you know, under it. And then this goes on the top and it goes here, okay? Sorry, also this stuff goes over the blurred reflect. Okay, now it makes sense, you see? Okay, now we have a little bit of blur inside, and I can mask this, invert the mask, zoom in a little bit, and paint with a nice, you know, soft brush with a white value, with a white color, maybe a little bit more opacity. See, we are blurring the inside and simulate something like condense. See? And now we are ready to put some drops of water on top of the glasses, okay? So this should go in on top here. And I have a photo, I have a displacement map, which is not a photo, it's a displacement map from Bertrand Benoit. So I'm taking this one, Ctrl+A, Ctrl+C, and I'm pasting it here. And of course this is too big, okay? So I make a smart object because I need to know, I need to try and error and see how to, you know, place this. I think that I will just use this, you know, on one glass, on one window. So I'm going to put this in perspective, okay? Something like this. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, good. And the easy way to, you know, do this, if you don't want to waste your time, you know, doing something more accurate, is to go in screen mode, for example, and go down with the opacity, okay? This is the easy way, all right? Or you can keep it normal and then change the filter, add the filter, which is stylize emboss. Now the stylize emboss basically turn your image into something that looks like a bump, okay? And as you may remember, you know, we should have, you know, something that reflects the bottom part at the top and something that reflects the upper part at the bottom, okay? So I'm doing something like this because I, you know, pretend that we have some dark reflection on the top and some sky reflection at the bottom. So I'm doing this, press OK, and because now the background here is medium gray and all the details I want to keep, they are white and black, I can change the blending mode to overlay, okay? And of course, I can just go down with the opacity a little bit, you know, to keep these effects a little bit less strong. Now, this is not the best way, okay? This is not the best way because we are losing, I mean, we don't have the edge of those drops. And, you know, of course, these are very small, so it's not easy to, you know, use a texture to do such a job, to do such a, you know, a result. But we can try something different. For example, we can have like a mix on between this and the same layer, but without the emboss, okay, in screen mode. Okay, you see, so we have a little bit of brightness, you know, and on top also the at the bottom also these you know, three-dimensional effects. It's not that strong, but you know, we can, you know, increase the strength here unless it looks, you know, I mean we should stop at one point, and then we can just copy this stuff over and over because, you know, this is a smart object, so we can press Ctrl J to make a copy of it, press Ctrl T, and then if we scale, okay, with you know, with the oh, sorry, you need to scale one at a time because otherwise the smart object stuff doesn't work. So you see, now if you want to bring this here, you can just, you know, scale with the shift, depends on, you know, the version of your Photoshop. And basically, once something in a smart object is in perspective, you can just scale it and it will keep moving in perspective, okay? And now I can tell that this overlay effect is probably too strong, okay? And so I will, oh, because I have it doubled here, okay, makes sense. But it's still too strong, so I will go down anyway with both of them. I keep this one, take this one, Ctrl T, and again, you know, scale, and with the shift, I will move it here. And I should match, or like you can just, you know, just do the first, you know, step with the screen and then convert them, make a copy of them and add the filter, emboss filter, and put them in overlay so they will match. Now we'll do this again, Ctrl T, right click, scale, and with a shift I bring the same image inside this window. Okay, and so on. So Ctrl J to copy, Ctrl T to get the anchors, and shift scale to move it in perspective. Okay, cool. Now let's add some, you know, stains of water coming down from the top. This tab will be pretty simple. I just pick one of these dirt decals and I'm bringing inside the file. You put in perspective. This one has the right proportion. And normally water stains on glasses are brighter. Are bright, so I keep this in, I don't know, screen mode, and I can, you know, use me see, curves to make them less visible. They're too strong, so I'm going to put a mask, invert the mask, and paint them just somewhere. Maybe I can squeeze the brush itself, you know. See, with a white value, I can restore them only somewhere. Maybe where I have a very dark backgrounds. Okay, so not everywhere, but we don't have to shout. Okay, it's just a subtle thing that we can have somewhere. It's a nice add-on. And you know, the trick to get something realistic is to vary, you know, is to make something, you know, different every time. So now, I don't know, I get like one of this. Oops, get inside in between the curve. It was a mistake. So now I take this one, can make this one very small and very long, like this. Maybe I want to keep only here. So press return, press go screen mode. Maybe even smaller. See, you can squeeze them. Oops. I released the shift button too early. All right. Again, down with the opacity. Mask, invert the mask, and paint white only where you want it. Okay? Okay, now let's see how to make some custom water drops on the glass. Okay, now, so you are going to see how to paint custom drops of water on your glasses, which is a great way, you know, to add realism to your scene and, you know, to do exactly what you need and, you know, where you want it. Now, how can you do that? First of all, you need an empty layer. And in this empty layer, I suggest you to pick a brush, pick a white value. I mean, it could be white, could be, you know, whatever. It could be red, okay? Just to make it more visible. Opacity 100, and we keep this size on pressure on. And I suggest you to use the pen and not the mouse to do such a thing, okay? So now that we have the pen and we have a brush selected, we can do, you know, this kind of stuff. Of course, if you press more, the line will be thicker, okay? But this is exactly the effect we want. So we paint a few lines, okay, over a glass, okay, just as a test. And then we zoom in and we double click on the layer area here to get the layer effects, okay? So now we need a couple of things. We need to drop a shadow, okay? Because we need a little bit of a contour, a little bit of stroke around the drop, but the stroke, this one is too strong. So we are going to use the drop shadow, which is more subtle and blurred, I would say. To understand, by the way, what we are doing here, we need to go back on the blending options and go down with the fill opacity to 0. And as you can see, we can just look at the final, you know, layer styles and not the original content, which is exactly what we want. So let's say that the drop shadow is worth to make kind of a stroke all around the drop, which is okay. You can decide the strength, okay? You can keep this in blending mode normal, dark color. and then very small distance, because you don't want the shadow to get far away from the drop. Spread is basically the amount of blur, and the size is the actual size of the shadow. But this is not used as a shadow; it's used as a stroke. So size is 0, and the spread is a little bit, just to get a little bit of blur around. And then we go for a bevel and emboss effect, which is exactly the same thing we are doing here on the displacement map, the emboss. But this time, you see, we are going to decide what type of emboss we want, and I keep inner bevel smooth. You see, this is the effect. So what we are looking for is to have at the bottom a white, gradient, white line, and on the top a black line. And to do so, you can just move this angle here, see? And this is something you can do every time in a different way, because the perspective of the scene is slightly different, and so you need to be sure you see that you get the right angle, I would say, and you will immediately understand when you have it. Okay, now let's see this something like this, and here I changed the contour, so the shape of your emboss, to something round like this one, which makes sense. And then you can decide the strength of the white part and the strength of the dark part. And it's up to you, but normally I keep them pretty visible because I press OK now. And I just go down with the opacity here, okay, of the layer. You can put this in soft light and overlay, but it doesn't really change because we don't have anything medium gray, I would say. And so it works out of the box. Now, if you go back on here, okay, this is probably too strong. I don't know. I mean, probably I picked the wrong angle. The previous example I tried was a little bit better. I pick a slightly better angle, okay? So for this file, if you want to know, the angle is minus 95 and 16, okay? And this is it. So now you can just, have fun and paint some drops of water, and it will work. Okay, and you can have as many as you want. And because in the end, this file is something you can paint on. You can also have a mask. You can load a selection, fill that selection, and recreates exactly the same effect, but with a more realistic result. Okay, so let's take the rain, and I will squeeze this to change a little bit the perspective of it. I like this image because we have anyway a perspective inside the image. Most of the time when we found rain on internet, is like flat and doesn't work very well. There's only this big, white line that's a little bit disappointing, but we're gonna take care of it. Now, put in screen mode, what we can do, we take a screenshot of the image without the rain, we desaturate it, Ctrl-Shift-U, and then we turn this into a mask. So Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C, channels, new channel, Ctrl-V. Ctrl-click to the thumbnail, and we mask this rain with this mask. And the reason is, we just simply want to see more rain where the image is bright. That's the simple explanation for that. And remember that you can even select the mask, Ctrl-M, and in a destructive way you can contrast the mask, see, to get less rain. So I would say to keep rain very visible only on white areas. Okay, so this is it. I can convert this into a smart object. And then I can go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, blur this a little bit, and then maybe, you know, mask this. Sorry, use the mask for the filters to keep just a little bit of this rain sharp. Okay. And now again, so this layer, low opacity, and we start all over. Why? Because we don't create effects just with one single layer. That's why. Maybe we can use a different part of the image. This is a big image. Again, screen mode. Go down with the opacity. See? Maybe we can, this one, we can keep it without any mask, just to have a little bit of, you know, rain everywhere. And then we can start with a new layer, screen mode. We take a little bit of color from here. Very low opacity. And we start to paint a little bit of fog, changing size. See, I never keep the same brush size in order to get, you know, a little bit more of realism. I also change the color, pressing Alt and clicking. In this area we should have a lot of rain falling down, so probably there's a lot of fog. See? And maybe a little bit even here where we have the windows. Okay. And then if you want, you can go down with the opacity, you know, and do another time, do another time, and do another time. And now we are just missing the splashes from the rain on the floor, and then we are done. The quickest way to create splashes of rain on the floor is to paint a custom brush. And so something like this, okay? So we start from white canvas. We take this brush here, this one. We keep size on pressure, and you know, we start with a black paint, you know, to do something like this. Okay, and then we do some splashes. Trying to get a little bit of, you know, perspective, I would say. Really doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Because we are going to blur it anyway, okay? And you can have a couple of them. So once you have something that you like, you can just define a brush preset, okay? You go back on your file, and then you can add a curve, increase the brightness, and invert the mask. Because, you know, the effect will work on as a brightness, okay? And then you take this brush and you can decide to go one by one, okay? But it could take ages, right? Or you can select the brush setup here. You can increase the spacing, okay? The size is about, you know, you're going to pick the size in a second moment. And then we have shape dynamic. You can increase the shape, you know, randomness, size randomness, a little bit of angle, maybe not that much, okay? Maybe a couple of 1%, 2%. And then, you know, also roundness, so some of them will be squeezed. And that's it. And then you can have scattering, so you can move them on both axes. And so instead of painting like one by one, you can really, like, you see, do a little bit of you know, strokes here and there, and you can get this, you know, kind of effect. I mean, now this is the first step. I would suggest you to, you know, once you go further away, to make the brush smaller, okay? And then if you paint too much, Photoshop will slow down, as you can see. And so you need to wait. But anyway, once it's done, then we take the smudge tool, this one, with a very big and round and blurred and in soft brush, and we try to kind of, you see, fix this sharpness that we can see, extremely, you know, defined shape. And that's it. And we can then just you know, modify the amount of brightness, and we are done. Okay, so let's take the smudge, very big brush, and then we move a little bit, and then we go back on place. See, and this is one layer, okay? And we can do another one. Same idea, okay? So curve, bring it up, invert the mask, take the brush again. I like more the one I've done at the beginning. Scattering. I mean, you should save the brush once you do something that you like. Okay. See? And again, a little bit of blur. Maybe you keep only like the very last layer, you know, with very small splashes all in the white area. I mean, the idea is to keep a few of them very sharp, almost perfect. Just to get the idea that we actually have some, you know, splashes here and there. And you can smudge with a very small smudge now. A little bit bigger. we can go with a smaller size, but with less scattering, sorry, less size jitter. Oops, this is the smudge. You can just play with the smudge too. Okay, so less size jitter, less spacing. Oops. And if there's a lot of splashes, then there's a lot of fog, you know, low fog. So it makes sense to, you know, add even a little bit more of fog in screen mode. And then on top of this, we should do some finalization, but it's not the right moment yet. We are going to see this into another video.